from SuperRare. The topic today is, as you all know, it's artist promotion and what does that mean to promote your artwork online, specifically within the context of NFTs and crypto art. So I'll hand it over to you, Esme.
Hi, just to double check, you can see my screen and everything. All good?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, it's wonderful to be here. So I do marketing and social media at SuperRare, and before that, I was an artist and a musician. So I spent a lot of time working out ways to promote my art online. I was a Twitch streamer for a while, as well as using kind of everything from Instagram and Twitter through to Discord and Twitch and YouTube. So I've kind of distilled some learnings from that into this presentation, and I hope that you guys find it really useful. Any questions we can definitely do at the end. So I'll just get started. So just looking at fundamentals first for building an online presence. I get it's really hard because when you're used to being an artist and making art, it's kind of all you want to spend your time doing, and it is by far and beyond the most important thing to be doing that. And art should definitely take up your time. However, building an online presence has never been as important or accessible for artists. We're in the kind of realm of the sovereign artist, which is a wonderful turning point, especially in kind of the history of art and like the creator economy that we're now in. So I just think it can be really powerful, and at the heart of it all is really about connection, and authentically explaining your artistic expression. And one of the ways I found it useful to frame it for myself was to see it as a way to connect to followers and collectors of my work, rather than kind of branding and marketing myself, which always kind of made me feel quite daunted. So I guess keeping that in mind, that connection is kind of the most important part of it. But having said that, there's a lot of noise on social media, and one way to cut through that is consistency. And it's something that algorithms on different platforms favor, but also your audience do as well, because they're on a journey getting to know you and your artwork. So the more consistent you can be, the better. That doesn't mean posting every day. It could be once a week, or twice a week, or 3 times a week, but just following up is always beneficial. And I just wanted to make a note as well about kind of engagement versus followers, because social media particularly can be quite overwhelming when you see people with big followings, but that can open doors to promotion and kind of perceptions of success. But you don't need a big following to be to earn a living from your art, and actually engagement from a smaller community can often be just as rewarding and just as fruitful as having millions of followers. So hopefully we can cover kind of how to build that, and everything from kind of content and engagement, different platforms, as well as kind of the first thing that we're going to delve into is kind of seeing yourself as a personal brand. And let's move on to that. So building your personal brand is essentially that, going back to kind of authentically connecting with your followers, and it's kind of taking yourself outside of yourself to and seeing yourself in that way is really hard. But to make it easier, think about it as amplifying your voice, and keeping it authentic. If you think about yourself and what you want to express and what your art wants to express in a really authentic way, it'll be easier for you to continue making content, which is very time consuming. And you'll also find that your audience kind of gravitate towards you. I feel like people can definitely see through fakeness, and are magnetized by things that are very authentic. So, and that can mean many different things to people. So maybe it's that you have an alter ego that's part of your artwork, or maybe you're used to directly talking to camera, and talking about your opinions, and or maybe being authentic to you is about being anonymous. So, I guess the way to help you work out what is authentic to you, kind of developed a strategy that I found very helpful, and that's to kind of look at 3 to 5 pillars. It's a good exercise to do, focusing on kind of who you are and what you want to say. And these are your personal brand pillars. You don't need to think about them all the time, but especially getting stuck with content ideas, kind of rooting yourself back to these, I found always helped me, and I hope that it will help you too. So, yeah, it might also end up kind of playing into your work in some ways, and I can give you some examples about that later on, with an artist that I saw kind of, it inspired some of the way that she developed her practice as well. So brand pillars, is an exercise that you might find helpful, and really can underpin, all the promotion that you do online. So let's delve into platforms. I go back to authenticity again, because it'll make you focus on platforms that are suited to you and the type of content you want to put out. And the easier and happier you are, the more consistent, you will find yourself being. And you've also got to think about where your audience are, and who you're trying to reach. So some platforms are better than others for different audiences. So Twitter is definitely a hub for crypto art, and highly recommend that, posting on Twitter and engaging with the community on there is very, very helpful. Instagram is great; it's very visual, and you know, depending on whether you're keen on kind of edited or live content, looking at things like YouTube and Twitch can be really powerful. Twitch has a community of digital artists on it, and they stream live. It's a very different, kind of practice from editing videos, and one that I personally found, really rewarding. Just a bit of background on that, and how it may be kind of helpful to think about what you're most suited to. So I was a musician for 9 years, and I found that the place that I connected most with people was street performing. And for me, when I discovered Twitch through some gaming friends, um, it lent itself most to that form of connection because it was live. And for some reason, when I did edited YouTube videos, it just didn't connect with people in the same way. So if you can find a platform that really, lets you be you, and kind of brings out your strengths, then I would say, like, focus on that one. Um, and something that's common across all these, is the algorithm. So whichever platform, and content you want to produce, your reach is usually about the time that you spend on the platform, and how much you post, and how much you engage with others. So that's a kind of commonality across, all platforms. But more on this a bit later. Um, and yeah, so moving on to profiles, I'm just going to kick off with this because, I find that it's a real, basic thing for online presence that really helps. Um, Try and remember to make it easy for people to find you, and to kind of see and purchase your work. So having, a consistent handle, profile picture, and bio are really helpful. And if you can make it similar to your artist name as possible, that's also good as well. Just so that people can easily find you, and easily follow you on the different platforms as well. And having links in bios, are really useful, particularly like link trees or anything similar to that. Especially if you have art on different platforms, being able to provide the links to each of those different platforms, as well as other places that collectors can follow you, and discover more about your work. People are definitely time strapped, and as I said earlier, social media, there's a lot of noise. So Always thinking about kind of making things easy to for people to click through to your work is definitely helpful. So let's dive into content. Um, Content is definitely one side of social media, and I'd say engagement is another. Content should be something that you really express yourself in, but it's designed to kind of explain your work and drive engagement. And sometimes I remember moments where I was just kind of making content to make content, to try and be consistent, but always the most powerful ones were where it was something that really expressed something authentic to me. I'd say definitely keeping content as authentic as possible is great, and to help come up with different types of content. Let's go back to the brand pillars, because it can really shape what you make, and also the ease at which you make it. So if you use a specific program to create your art, showing process videos of that, maybe as simple as recording your screen as you make it, and trying to figure out content that revolves around your practice, so that you can do it as you go, is definitely something that could be super helpful. I don't know if my screen changed, so hopefully it did. So yeah, things brainstorming different ideas from your brand pillars would probably be a good starting point. So process videos, live streams with painting, any storytelling. If you want to do face to camera, or maybe audio discussions, or just captions about your work, behind the scenes of your setup. And any ways that you release and show your work as well, is really helpful, because I feel like people who are engaging with your art definitely want to know more about it, and from that can be from anything from thematics to how it was made, and the reasons why it was made. So keeping that in mind definitely helps. There's an artist. So our head of content is Nathan Veer, also known as Beer Candid, and he does a lot of Instagram stories that kind of just look at the process of his work, and often it's as simple as kind of taking photos of the practice as he goes, and it's really engaging, and definitely draws people in. So moving on. Yes, so I have some examples here. So content, you can see kind of different brand pillars reflected in different artists' work, and I go back to this just to kind of demonstrate how brand pillars can definitely feed into the types of content that you make. So taking Ferocious, they are all about storytelling and their personal autobiographical journey, and digital and physical painting. So they tell stories that have, face to camera, particularly about the community and life events. And they have a podcast, process videos, and behind the scenes. They post, things from Procreate as well as canvas paintings, and discuss issues kind of very close to their heart, because they relate to the content of the work. And then on the other side, you've got Xcopy, who is an anonymous character, and that kind of goes in line with a lot of the ideologies of the DeFi world, which is also reflected in their work, because their artwork is kind of linked to crypto commentaries. So you can see that also reflected in the bio, and also in the posts that they do. So there are kind of different brand pillars being expressed in different ways, and it's really helpful to kind of just delve into the ones that you that resonate with you. And I wanted to show some non-crypto examples as well. So Sophie T, that is an artist who actually I think might be starting to make NFTs as well, but she's a traditional artist, and one of her brand pillars, in my opinion, seems to be kind of all about not going the gallery route. And so a lot of her content is about how she's doing that. So there's face to cameras, there's blogs, lots of behind the scenes about her journey. And in her latest kind of series, she was painting nudes and wanted she wanted women to be more accepting of their bodies. And this is a theme that played into how she presented her artwork, and actually she ended up painting nudes and real life people, and did a fashion show of painting people. And it's been fascinating to see that evolve. I've been following her for a while, but it's really cool to see how, something that she's really driving as kind of core to her and her work come out in the way that she is creating and presenting it. And then there's another traditional artist called Talia Stanton, who's kind of blown up on TikTok. And I'd say that one of her brand pillars probably is helping other artists. So she talks a lot about different materials. Her artwork she says, wants to express freedom and release in life. And so the behind the scenes, she does a lot of kind of, it's very painting heavy and process driven, but she also has a podcast talking about kind of building a career as an artist. And as a result, her audience has grown to involve like a lot of artists, but also buyers of her work who really identify with her kind of hopes and dreams as well. So communicating stuff that's very authentic to you can really, really attract the people that are going to resonate with your work. And then, yeah, let's move on to a slightly different kind of content that definitely is great for building community and being part of community. And that's something that probably takes less time and energy to do, but that's sharing other people's work and tagging them in it. And retweets and resharing works that you admire and like, and communities that you're part of. Those, may also be in line with your brand pillars, but you'll find that it naturally does if they came from you. So when you see something you like, it probably is in line with that. And this is actually great for engagement, which is part of algorithms as you're interacting with other accounts as well. So yeah, let's move on to that engagement side. So to help people discover and share your work, there are definitely things that you can make use of on social media. So hashtags and handles and tagging. This means people can reshare in Instagram stories, and if you don't tag them, then they can't reshare, and things like that can be very, very helpful. Also making sure that you have kind of call to actions in your captions. There's a power in asking and prompting viewers to, click on the link in bio, or please like and share this if you enjoy the work. Responding to people's comments as well, liking certain comments, and kind of having that connection with people is yeah it should also be authentic to you, but you'll find that it's a really good way of engaging and communicating with your community as well. There are also other ideas like engagement pods. So these are, if you know a few different artists, you could set up a group and kind of agree to repost and retweet and comment on each other's posts. That can really help with the algorithms. Algorithms kind of definitely rule social media a lot, in that when they change, your reach can significantly decrease. So kind of engagement of your work and your posts can really drive that. So engagement pods could be a really good idea, as well as kind of artistic collaborations. If you're both posting about pieces of work, then obviously that's great for reaching new audiences as well, and giveaways as well. So giveaways is something definitely people love, and you can build in kind of sharing incentives, like tagging friends who would like this, and going back to that, I guess, as long as it's in line with your kind of brand pillars, then it should feel and be very authentic. So moving on to something that I feel like I have to preface with social media. I definitely have felt this numerous times. But kind of mental health and burnout on socials can happen. So just some things to keep in mind if you catch yourself feeling burnt out or negatively affected by the kind of sometimes overwhelm of having to market your art. Try not to compare yourself to other people. Be careful with others maybe asking too much from you. Um, when you have a presence online and people message you, and it's wonderful to build that community, but it can be overwhelming sometimes. So if you're getting a lot of messages about tutorials and people wanting to know techniques, or sometimes there are scams and ill-intentioned messages as well, just kind of be careful to have your own personal boundaries. And oftentimes, remember to take a break, because people will always understand that, and it's the most important. Kind of your mental health is very important, especially if you are essentially working for yourself, which artists more and more are. And I think the ability to be a sovereign artist in this day and age is immensely powerful, and can be amazing. But it also comes with a lot of responsibilities, and can be quite overwhelming. So remembering to take a break, because otherwise it can be very, very 24/7. And I just wanted to talk a bit about email as well, because socials are definitely a big way of promoting your work online, but email can be really, really powerful. So um, some recommendations are to try and build an email list as early as possible. Um, and remember that basically the people signing up to your email list will probably be your biggest fans. So when you think about what you would like to email them, you can definitely send them content that you've made on socials, but they if you can find a way, I mean, there's different ideas of kind of creating a collectors club email, for example. I've seen a lot of artists do that, and it's kind of gives people on their mailing list, early access to things, or kind of sneak peeks, or just different things to kind of really thank the biggest fans of your work. And I'd say that applying the same brand pillar principles to socials is really important as well. But basically, I guess the purpose of the email is that email can really cut through a lot of the noise of social media. It can be quite, things can be easily missed on social media, and they can be missed on email as well. But sometimes it's a really powerful way to reach people, especially if you've got key announcements, or you've got people that express interest in certain pieces of art. And so, yeah. I guess also it's a way of interacting one-on-one with people. You can ask them if they want to be added to your email list, and there's different. I guess different followers will want different things, but you can always they can always have the option to unsubscribe as well. So overall, email can be a great addition to having an online presence on social media. And so one thing, if you guys want to do, I don't know, Nicole, if this is something you guys would want to do now, but or if you would like to kind of go away and do this, but thinking about 3 to 5 brand pillars for yourself can be really helpful. So if you guys want to do this now and feel like sharing them, then we can do that. But otherwise, I hope this has been helpful, and definitely I encourage you to do the exercise anyway in your own time as well.
I think it would be nice if people are up for it to maybe like share. Maybe it doesn't have to be 5, maybe it can be a couple
Yeah.
that people want to think about or have at the top of their mind. If you're up for it, guys, like, it's just, I think it might be interesting. We, like, you all like now know each other for, like 8 weeks, so we're not shy or embarrassed anymore. We all know each other really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be fun if you're up for it. I think it might be something that I can do as well, to be honest.
Yeah. I do find it's helpful for kind of most kind of personal brands, if we use that term. But yeah, kind of whatever you do, if you're an artist or just have an online presence, it can be really helpful.
Shall we maybe take like 5 minutes to think about it and then kind of like come back at like, I don't know. It's like almost 30 past. If we come back at like 35.
Sounds good.
Any feedback?
Sounds
Are
great.
you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Should we just type it into the chat, or will we discuss it like on the voice channel?
We can do both. I think like Rose, for example, I know she can't speak, so she'll probably type. But if you're up for speaking, I think it would be cool.
Okay.
Great. Okay, see you guys in at 35 past.
Okay. Yeah. right. We have Rose who already typed it up, so I can read it out.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, so Rose says, okay, here's what I got. Playfulness. This is through playing with color, trying not to take myself or my art too seriously, and also experimenting with new things. Connection to the natural world through using natural products as well as often creating landscape type scenes. Nature is super important to me, and I like to reflect that in my art. And connection with others. One of the biggest brand pillars for me is to be super connected with my community and to be known as someone who supports and show ups for other artists. That's
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah, that's great, Rose. And like I feel like there's so much content that could naturally flow from that. Kind of just ideas that spring to mind that could be kind of simple and easy to do, kind of with connection with others. I think I saw earlier that you share a lot, but that will just your kind of desire to communicate that will be so easily seen if you just keep sharing. So that's awesome that you're doing that. And kind of connection to the natural world, obviously talking about the materials you use, or different products that you use, or even helping people understand why, and enlightening people to the different things that you think are important. And I don't know if you kind of also just do kind of IRL shots of beautiful things that you see, but that could also kind of be part of the narrative. Um, so
Yes.
yeah. It just means that kind of, because going back to kind of the consistency thing with posting socials. One thing I found super overwhelming is that, like, I wasn't creating a new piece a day. Like, artists feel so much pressure to kind of put out so much content, but often, you want to be consistent, or you just want to have a presence and communicate more to your audience, but it doesn't have to only be your art. So kind of finding other ways to communicate, your connection to the natural world. Maybe it's taking a photo of a beautiful sunset, or different things can kind of help people connect with your art, but just in a way that isn't just posting your artwork, if that makes sense.
Hi. I'd love to get some feedback on mine as well, because I do tend to share a lot of other people's work, but
Cool.
I don't really post much else, I guess. So it's very much like unbalanced, I guess. And I'm
Mm,
not putting out like a lot of work. And because I'm not a visual artist, like I'm a writer, so I can't really do work in progress posts and all that. So
mm.
um, I'd love to get if I can share like my brand pillars.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
okay, so mine are conceptual crypto writing. Um, and some adjectives I kind of thought I'd love to have associated with that is like playfulness, exploration or experimentation, and innovation.
Mm,
Um, so like the conceptual art like tends to be associated with super brainy kind of intellectual stuff, but I like it also my work to be kind of more playful and kind of like a game sometimes as well. Also, I'm a supporter and builder of the crypto writing community, and when I was thinking of like maybe if I had any values that I'd like to stand for, the first thing that came to mind is like openness and inclusivity.
mm.
So those are the four things that I have
That's
that I
great.
came up.
Well, so something that comes to mind is kind of maybe, um, I don't know if you have any, because you said you weren't creating that much work, but maybe on the days where you're not posting about your work, you could post inspirations, or maybe kind of
Mm.
quotes, keeping it text based so it relates to kind of that's what people kind of know you for. But maybe inviting kind of people to comment if you post a quote or if you post your own work, like because you talked about inclusivity and openness, maybe you ask your audience to kind of join the conversation and kind of give their opinion on things as well. But yeah, it's great that you can. That's great that you can identify those and kind of. It's honestly, it's amazing when you guys have done this so quickly, because I feel like it took me so long to work out what my brand pillars were. Like literally, like years. And that's the other thing, is they can change and evolve. But yeah, it's great that you guys know this, and because it's quite a hard exercise to do. So very impressed.
I think I've been kind of thinking about it's been on my mind for a little while, so it came quickly. But yeah, I've been
That's
giving it
great.
some thoughts. And yeah, thank you so
Awesome.
much. It's really helpful.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I also think, Callan, like if like for example, if I go through your Twitter, like there is some, you can see it, that your work is, about writing, about poetry, that there's like a conceptual side to it rather than maybe like a visual side, which is most like common with like other, Twitter profiles and other like artists. So I feel like even though maybe you think that, you don't have like such a strong like brand presence, I feel like you do, to be honest. And it's pretty evident as well from your Twitter. And I actually love that you have that pinned tweet, which is your Eckler poem. I think also like pinned tweets are like really important. I think the funny guys, last week we had a collector AMA, and he basically mentioned as well like something that a lot of collectors look at in general, like it's just a pinned tweet, like it's the first thing that you see on Twitter. So if that reflects your brand, like for example your brand pillar in a way, you're almost already kind of halfway there.
I actually had a quick question. I mean, I don't want to take time away from the other residents, but about the pinned tweets. I had a question whether it's better to have a pin that is represent sort of like, for example, my ether poem shows my work and you can immediately see it. That's an example of what you do. Or because Nicole, I was thinking of pinning the tweet, the spotlight that you did on me, because that gives a more like an overview of what I'm going for in my work, and it gives a summary of my work that I've done so far, and it gives a more like holistic um, view of what I'm going for as an artist. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts.
Well, I feel like you can kind of swap them around. Like definitely, social media can be very much trial and error. So don't be afraid to kind of try something out, and then you can always go back to like repinning the tweet that you currently have, and kind of seeing if anything changes from it, or kind of whether you feel it represents you more, or maybe you pin it for a week and then see. One thing I would say is like if you want the goal of the pinned tweet to be kind of people to instantly know what you are about, if people have to click off of it to kind of read something longer, or kind of then it's maybe not as useful. Like having a tweet that kind of explains it in the tweet is kind of instantly accessible for people, especially who are discovering you for the first time.
Okay, thank you.
And I think it's only possible to pin your own tweets, not other people's tweets.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't. I thought you might have kind of posted what Mikol had said on your page. Yeah, I think you're right. You can only pin your own tweets.
Yes, you would have to essentially like rewrite it maybe, but I do think that like something that is, I mean, something that I, for example, look at when I like have to write like descriptions and stuff, like even just writing your all of you guys artist spotlights. Like if there's like, to be honest, like sometimes I know that artists like to be like very how can I say it, like, you know, that don't really say too much. But if you're trying to like know a little bit more and you want to know a little bit more, that can actually, I think, be a bit counterproductive. So like for me, if somebody has, you know, a pinned tweet or, you know, the description that kind of depicts, even just with, you know, like multidisciplinary artist or textile artist or crypto writer, and like the ways that I can find you and find your artwork or your art or whatever you're doing, um is really useful, especially within like social media. That's just like my view.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. 100%.
And it's also possible to, like, if you do multiple pinned tweets, then you can bookmark them and switch them around if you want to switch to another
Yeah,
pinned tweet.
absolutely.
Okay, so we have a few things in the chat. I'll read them out. So Andrea says, sorry, Walt, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So Andrea says, first is focus on architecture and spatial representation. 2, connection with real world, even when working in virtual space. And 3 is research images I produce are related to a wider conceptual work.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's so much you can do with each of those and kind of expressing them in different ways. You know, from maybe posting about your influences or beautiful pieces of architecture that you see, from kind of if the images you produce are related to wider conceptual work, you know, doing kind of blog posts about that you could do as an Instagram caption, or maybe you know, even on email, for example, you could write extended pieces and send kind of those deep dives to the people that are kind of your biggest fans, because I feel like if people sign up to your email, they're kind of one step further along the journey of kind of your work than people on socials, because they've kind of made that kind of decision to subscribe. So maybe there's like deeper conceptual writing you could do, or even if you going back to the focus on architecture, you could send like every week or once a month, you could send them like, these are the pieces of architecture that inspire my work, or these are beautiful things that, you know, you should know about, or you know, if you're into architecture and stuff. So there's loads of ways to get creative with them. They sound great. I really want to check out each and every one of every one of your works now.
So Kagri had mentioned before, saying experimenting humor and dark humor and surprising. And I asked if he wanted to expand, and he says basically, sorry, experimenting. I am part of an art collecting, and our artworks are consistent, and we have rules that 3 of us agreed on. In my personal art, I do the opposite. I want to experiment on everything. Because I'm not representing a collective, but only myself, I can do whatever I want. The second is humor and dark humor. I just like it in my life and reflects to my work. And the last is surprising. I like to surprise people. You start watching some of my works and something unexpected happens, and I can't explain why. I love to surprise people.
That's awesome. Sounds like you could have a lot of fun with different content, for sure. I'm thinking if there's any kind of fun kind of IRL content you could feed into your Twitter or your stories, and maybe part of your like consistency on socials is to consistently surprise people. So maybe, you know, you don't have a regular posting schedule, or you'll kind of pop up every couple of weeks, or, you know, there's kind of different ways that you can feed this into what you post and how you post as well.
Sorry, I just realized that Kyrie, you have the artist spotlight that we did as a pinned tweet. So I think if you just quote tweet, then you can do the same as well, Callum, if you want. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have two quotes that says, "For me, my art is composed by three main pillars. Internet. My art is as diverse as the internet. It was born in this environment and remains there. My art is about internet culture itself, so it plays a huge role in the subjective aspect and history of Tukuts. The second is experimentation and randomness. My work was born into the necessity of experiment. I basically create new art using existing art. I believe the pixels must remain free as the internet too. I also believe in the power of abstraction and randomness and chaos. It's good for my mind, and the internet looks like a huge playground for me where tools, softwares, and are toys available to play with. And last is innovation and creativity. I don't have a particular style of creation, however, my art has unity, some kind of signature. It happens because I like to use the tools in a way they are not intended to. This brings a lot of innovation to the space itself, and it's a very good abstract technique. It really frees my mind."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You could really show this. I don't know if it's possible for you to do, but recording your screen and showing people your process for sure, and providing tips for other artists and different techniques. Because it sounds like your process is kind of very much part of your brand, and showing collectors that will be even more intriguing. Also, something that you said just made me think about kind of artist statements. And I don't know if each of you have done one, but kind of a summary of your brand pillars might be useful as well. Just have on your website, or have as a link in your bio that feeds out to like a landing page that just kind of gives people an explanation of how you see your work and what you want to achieve from it. Can really help. Kind of going back to Mikol's mention of kind of keeping it very easy for people to understand at first glance, like what you do, and an artist statement can really help that.
Hello, Esme. My name is Murat. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
My,
nice to meet you too.
like, I do work with various mediums like virtual reality, creative coding, interactivity, but I can say my work, my pillar, like, is interactivity. It can be either like interactivity through like mouse controls, like real interactivity, or human interactivity, like with the last piece I did, on Ijat Nunk platform, you can create artwork regarding to the Tezos wallet address. So it's a generative art based on Tezos wallet, but you can see the other people's version. So what I did, I created a viewer where people could see other collectors' version, and I airdropped this piece to the first collectors of the piece.
Cool. That's great.
So like I'm trying to create interactivity.
Yeah, and that's running through your kind of process with the collectors. That's amazing, and I'm sure it will resonate as well with each of those people, and kind of aid their understanding of what you're trying to achieve as well. So that's a great example of kind of I was talking about that girl Sophie T earlier, about how she'd been painting nudes in a normal way, and then kind of transported that idea to something else in a different way to communicate. So it kind of sounds like that was kind of almost part of the artistic dialogue for you, if I've understood correctly.
Yeah, it was kind of like combining all the collectors together, like, so, and other people's also, they could see what they like. It's like I tried to create a small community with a piece.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Walt, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm gonna just read through I guess this that I added here. So on aesthetic sides, color and color harmonies and like harmony altogether is kind of important for me, and experimenting with those things. Then the next one is calmness and peacefulness. I would say that comes, I guess, from my personality, and I think also from like the Finnish mentality also. Yeah, I think most of my artworks and in the future also is going to be quite peaceful and calm. Then positive impact on the world. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot. So of course I want to make a living with my art, but it would be really great to have like or to do more like this kind of social charity events or raise money for social causes with my art. Then mixing and working with traditional and digital mediums, so combining those together in different ways is also interesting and kind of my pillars. So,
Great.
because I come from the traditional background, so I've been doing drawing and oil painting, so it's nice to continue to find out how I can combine those with let's say VR and AR and all those kind of things.
That's great. I mean, sharing that and sharing kind of some of your traditional processes and making sure that people see the behind the scenes can be really, really helpful. Because some, when you see kind of crypto art, sometimes, it does feature kind of traditional mediums as well, but it's not, you don't necessarily know that unless you've kind of got an explanation from the artist, or you follow the artist and you've seen that they also are traditional, using traditional mediums as well. So just making sure that you're communicating that, and yeah, I mean the calmness, and you said it sounds like it's totally authentic to you, and I'm sure that if you're sharing other people's work or just other visual cultural pieces that resonate with you, then that will definitely come across as well, and that can kind of draw people into your world and the way that you see things.
Yeah,
could be really cool.
Yeah. And one idea that I actually had regarding I don't know if this is a good idea or bad, but maybe you can give your insight about the email listing. So I was thinking that instead of like an email list, it would be really interesting to start actually like sending like letters to collectors or whoever wants to like keep in contact.
Oh, we have some there's lots of noise on the line.
Thank you. Did you hear anything or?
Yeah, I heard some bits, but you said I lost you at the email part.
Yeah, so actually like communicating with letters rather than email. I thought that would be interesting.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
Because that's kind of like I think would be great to have like a better way to get like a really authentic like connection with
do you mean kind of handwriting letters?
Yes.
Wow, cool. Yeah, and if you can't send it to people's like addresses, because obviously a lot of people kind of don't necessarily want that, just handwriting them and putting the images in the email as well could be a way around that as well.
Yeah, there can be all kinds of ways to do those. But yeah, that's kind of the issue. Like, not many people, or some people don't maybe like to share their addresses. I understand that. But if there's interest towards that would be interesting.
Yeah, but if I was collecting someone's artwork, I'd love a handwritten letter from them. I think that would really, it would really resonate with me personally. But
Exactly, yeah. And
yeah.
I could send like a maybe small prints or something.
Yeah.
I can read out what Negar wrote. So the first is, think for me. My purpose in creating art is one of the main pillars. I create to remember and record things. That's why I add notes to photographs to really freeze moments. I started this journey with photos and notes, but I want to see myself as a visual artist who wants to experiment and play in a lot of other mediums. The second is my identity, from where I live in Middle East, Iran, and its places, and also as a woman and as a human. My identity is something I try to reflect on, and I'm inspired by things around me. So I have this real narrative in all creations. Also, one important thing about me is I love to do professional curation in the future, and I'm also working on this side to present it as I have experiences in PR and gallery management in real life. I want to bring this to my whole journey. I have a lot of passion for this part and a lot of ideas.
That's great. I mean, I'd say just finding ways to express that, definitely. And even if you're not kind of actively curating now, sharing people's work and kind of different elements that demonstrate that kind of curatorial mindset could be a really good way. And just kind of leaning into things about your identity and kind of making sure that you highlight those. I guess it's kind of the same as the kind of going back to like the mission statement idea that we said, like each of these like brand pillars you can. Did I lose you? Sorry. I'm hardwired and it's still dropped. How is that possible? Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. I was just saying, kind of leaning into each of those things about your identity and making sure that people know them, or maybe you do kind of thought pieces around each of those things and what they mean to you, not necessarily as you're accompanying an artwork, but it could be anything from kind of daily life. And it looks, hang on, I'm just looking at your Twitter now. So it looks from what you shared, this is like really clearly communicated, and that's great. So maybe just leaning into those things more. And I guess you said your purpose in creating art is definitely one of the main pillars, and maybe expressing that alongside the photographs and giving the reasons why are really helpful. And this is something that kind of I really love when artists do beneath their posts, like having like long Instagram or even just short ones, like captions explaining the whys. I absolutely love when artists do that because it draws people in so much more. And often that's a role a curator would take in the traditional art world, but now you have the ability to do it yourselves, and it can really add a lot of kind of communication towards the viewer. So yeah, maybe leaning into that too.
I know a few people are typing, but does anybody want to speak, maybe?
Also, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask.
Wow, no questions.
I have a question if no one else wants to go.
Go for it.
What do you think about like DMing for example, like collectors or um, I don't know, other people? Is that like too intrusive, or I guess it depends on the message, but like,
Yeah, it's really hard because I guess it's and also everyone's different. Like some people will love being DM'd and other people won't. So I guess there's no hard and fast rule. Um, but I'd say if your intentions are kind of authentic to you and there's a reason other than just like trying to sell your artwork to someone kind of thing. Say you really love a collector's collection and you just want to tell them that you think it's awesome they're supporting artists like that. That I guess that's fine. That's a really difficult question. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, if I'm honest. But there are ways, I guess, to interact with collectors as well, like liking and retweeting things and their opinions. If you kind of want to get to know them and be part of their community, but without being too intrusive, or without kind of reaching out to them directly, that can kind of build their awareness of you in a different way.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. What do you think about that, Nicole?
Yeah, it's tough. It depends what you're asking them or telling them. I think collectors usually get quite a lot of DMs. Like everybody gets a lot of DMs, to be honest. It's not just collectors. I kind of like I'm always very cautious of like naming people collectors because I think everybody is a collector in the space. So, like even if they're not like the big collectors, they are probably collecting as well. But so my experience, whenever I get a random message DM, which usually kind of goes into, the other messages if I'm not like following people, and it's like, check out my new artwork, to be honest, like I don't like that. It annoys me a lot. Not to be like mean or anything, but like I don't know. Like I feel like, it's better to kind of have a connection, try and build a relationship rather than DM like that. And I do the same when I speak to collectors as well, like if I have to tell them about, upcoming things that I'm doing or, stuff like that, like I never go at them with just a request or like an action. I always try to like find a way to connect with them first, whatever that means, whether it's like, oh, I just saw this, or oh, what do you think about this? Like, I would love your feedback on this. Like, it's more of a conversation rather than like, please do this for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Absolutely.
sense.
Okay, so we have Octavio who wrote I'm awful with the words, so I'm not sure what I can mention as pillars, but I'll do my best. Experimentation. I come from the traditional art. I usually combine different techniques to create my work. Although I prefer drawing more than anything else, but I started to combine my physical work with digital tools and really like it. Be part of the community. It's awesome to be here and discover new art and artists every day, so I share the gems that I find in the path. I also started to collect other artists' work and share it in my feed. And the last is be nice and gentle with everyone. I think that we should build the community with respect and be supportive. I use my pinned tweet to show some insights of my journey in the space. Yeah, and I actually think Octavio, your pinned tweet is really great, to be honest. You just shared it as well, but yeah, I think it's a really good pin tweet, to be honest. I found that it's kind of interesting because I just finished doing all of your artist spotlights, right? So I always went on your Twitters and your artist pages and your websites some of the time, actually all of the time. So it you can see it like, for example, with Octavio, like the pin tweet tells me everything, almost everything I need to know, right? And then if I want to know more, I can deep dive into the website, Showtime and all of your artist profiles on the various marketplaces. But InTweet already kind of gives me an idea. So Octavio's from Cuba. He's been working 20 years. He does printmaking, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's kind of like your elevator pitch. You can think of it as that. Like if you had like 20 seconds to tell someone about you, like that's kind of a summary, and it's really helpful to have, for sure.
Okay, Rose is asking, whilst there's a pause, what's the best way to get emails? Should we have a website?
Yeah, so typically, I mean, if you have a website, you can, and it depends what website you have, but some have inbuilt kind of email aggregators and like an inbuilt email way of composing and sending emails, or you could have something like MailChimp, that where you can create a static page on your website that has, or you can embed an email sign up widget to the website. And then you can just put the link in your link in bio. As I was saying, like link trees are really helpful. You can have like email sign up or like collector club sign up, or something on the link tree so that people know that they can sign up there, and then they click on that and it takes them through to a page that where they can enter in their details. And maybe like once a month you kind of tell people on Twitter that you have an email sign up, and like you send special things to your mailing list, so sign up kind of thing. You can definitely prompt people to that link once it's live. And then from there, like once you build a list, when you do a new drop, you can email your collectors or your kind of email mailing list there, and hopefully it helps to just get more kind of eyes on the work that you're releasing.
So Will says, I will try with 2 pillars first. I will think it more later. The first is fiction. Almost all my work is based on fiction in real life, as a fiction and absurdity around it. And the second is colorful tragedy. All the color I'm using for my artwork is having a purpose to hide the real emotion of the main object.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And definitely like working out a way to convey that in descriptions or an artist statement is great. Even kind of artwork descriptions too. It's hard because I haven't seen your kind of your artist descriptions and your work and stuff, but that definitely springs to mind.
I think Rose is doing some, yeah. I think Burka does it really well as well, yeah. And I think for photographers as well, like it's yeah, it's interesting. I think even for this like specific type of like genre of art, to even though like visually, a photograph can like tell enough of the story, like it's always, I think, interesting and nice to give a setting, a context, where it was made, like how it was made, what was even like what maybe Negar, like you were feeling whilst taking that picture. Like I think this all adds um to the storytelling, I guess. Doesn't have to be all the time, but
Yeah. And going back to kind of the authenticity thing about like really telling people, how you were feeling, those kinds of things can really make people connect with your work on a very kind of human level. And sometimes I get, you might not feel comfortable sharing those things, but if you want to experiment with it, definitely, I'd say like experiment with everything you do on socials. Nothing is, you can try something out, see how it feels to you, see how it resonates with other people, and then change. Socials and kind of even your brand pillars can be very much trial and error and kind of tweaking things as you go along. So don't feel like you've set something in stone and you have to stick to it. It can be as creative as the work you're making.
Nedzo says, I've been practicing building architecture for almost a decade now, but I've always loved concept art, which stems from my love of movies. So I've been doing concept art with futuristic architecture, exploring solar punk and cyberpunk philosophy. I try to bring awareness into our situation in the Middle East through my art. I've recently quit my job and I'm going to carry on my practice in the metaverse, doing metaverse native architecture. I always share other artists' work that more resonate with me. I also try to support artists from other disciplines as well. I've also collected from artists on Hekatnook.
Great.
Yeah, I think Nezo, like I think I did your artist spotlight kind of the other day, so I have it like really clear in my mind. But yeah, I remember thinking, yeah, this, there's like a clear focus on like cyberpunk, solar punk, like futuristic. So it's definitely represented, at least from, my opinion.
Awesome.
Also, you all say that you're not good at writing, but it seems like you all are. Warwick says, I'm not really sure about my pillars. Writing is difficult for me, but maybe it's weirdness. My background is in ArcViz, so what I'm trying to do in my work is to make building like stuff move or stretch or dance in a non-realistic manner. The second is experimentation and mixing it up. Growing up, I really like hand drawing, and I'm trying to blend this with modern software and tools, or misusing tools. Like I use a landscape AI tool to draw faces. In my work, though, I try to execute the idea in the piece as best as I can. I know this sounds all over the place. I hope I can improve my pillars or artist statement. No, it's actually pretty. To be honest, I think it's amazing. That you all
Yeah.
have like written down so quickly. Like I think I would struggle to think about it. So it's really great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a question if I can. Is it noisy when I speak because there is some noise around me?
No.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. Hi, yeah, sorry. So the question is, so if we write down our pillars, and then what is the best idea? I mean, you mentioned the artist statement. Should we somehow attach it to a pinned tweet? Should we make it like clear in our pinned tweet, or how do we do that? Yeah, so what's the idea about it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you could put it in a pinned tweet, or as I think someone posted earlier, like writing something in like a JPEG form, so that you can use more characters, and then posting that and pinning it as a tweet is super helpful. I'd suggest doing that. Also, from another thing, like I guess the next stage of doing your brand pillars is kind of to take each one and explore, what kinds of content you could post that relate to that, or kind of how you want to engage with the wider community, kind of based on that theme, as well as kind of making sure that the artist statement expresses these things.
Because in our pin tweet, we sort of, it's like an introduction to our body of work. We work with architecture, and it stems from like this years-long project that comes from master thesis in architecture, and like we sort of made it attached to our pin tweet. So pin tweet is like an introduction, and where we go, like where we say that our focus is architecture. We use this like digital hand drawing and digital hand sculpting technique, and then I go through it. It's like one of our pillars, I guess, since we started describing it. And then I say that we like, because our duo, we're an artistic duo, we're two sisters working together. And then I go about like, yes, we are two sisters with professional background. And then we attach the thread. It's like a long thread with our working process, because it's a years long project. So we go through like different media from one to the next, and like every work that we do comes from that project. It's like our main work project, focus like on So we sort of attached that thread with the project to our main tweet, pin tweet. Sorry, yeah, and I don't know. But at the same time, I heard you said that it shouldn't be too long because it's like so.
Yeah.
And then
I think having one of the tweets, like definitely linking to a thread is great, but just the first tweet that people see, if that can be a kind of shorter summary, I think it's more kind of instantly absorbable for someone kind of discovering for the first time.
So I can just talk a bit about our pillars. If I don't know, we just described it in our pinned tweet, I guess. So yeah, first of all, I think it's that our work field that we work in architecture. Our focus is architectural spaces, forms, and landscapes, and our direction is that in our work we bring architectural spaces into abstract dimension to push the boundary of what the architectural space may be in the eyes of the viewer. And then I guess I don't know, technique is the way we use the medium. We go from like we cross. How do you? I'm sorry. It's like we use multimedia techniques in our main project. And then maybe that's like our bond with each other, because we are two sisters working together, and that all of those sort of are there on our pin tweet. And I don't know. I hope that works.
Yeah. I agree. I think people would love to know all those things. And yeah, I think the pin tweet really is like a crucial part. And then seeing if there's ways that you can bring those things into kind of what you post about. And like I love that you guys are sisters, and maybe there's kind of a way of bringing that into kind of demonstrating that in some of your posts as well. Would be quite fun.
Yeah. What can you? Yeah, that, because also we are two sisters, but we don't, like, we say that we are two sisters with professional artistic backgrounds. We've been doing arts from early age, but not sure how can we sort of, I don't know, we don't want to sort of pull away from our brand, because like this is us doing it together. And
Yeah, I mean, sorry. So are you saying that you don't want to highlight that you're sisters, or you do?
No, we do want to highlight, because it's a big part of our story. This is like, we came together to form this studio, this art duo. But we don't want to pull away, like the, like person, like we formed this duo to be the item. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's different ways that you could do it, and it doesn't have to be a main focus that distracts from the work. But maybe like once a week or once a month or something, you'll post. Rose has just said like that they love seeing photos of you guys together, like doing that, or saying like we grew up both exploring these things, and maybe posting something from like anything you did when you guys were younger, or just showing you guys together, just so that people who may find your feed and like they may have read your pin tweet or they may not have, but in the post they can kind of see that as an element of the narrative of your work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we already shared like a picture, but yeah, thank you so much. We will think about it more. Yeah, thanks.
All right, we have 5 minutes left with Esme. Are there any last kind of questions or thoughts for her?
Question. With talk with class in Patrick was mentioning about not retweeting posts. I mean, like he said, when people will go into your account on Twitter, they want to see your works, your previous works. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think definitely having your previous works posted. Sorry, did you say that they said not to retweet other people's works?
Yeah, he was saying like I'm not retweeting much. I'm retweeting only if I like the work a lot and try to support, but I'm trying to comment and interact, but not retweeting much because when you retweet lots of people's work, so your posts go below them, then it's like a mess. You can't find
Yeah.
artwork
I,
related to that
sorry,
account.
Murat. I think what he mentioned when he was saying that was that not to have your full Twitter profile just of other artists' work. Because obviously then like if your whole profile is like other artists' work, then maybe it's hard for people to kind of
Mm,
figure out what is it that you're doing. But I think
yeah.
yeah, I think like, if there's a balance between, your work and other people's work, I think like, to be honest, I don't want to like re-highlight this, but I think Rose does it really well. Like the balance between other people's work and her work, as well as I think pretty much like all of you do it like really well, in terms of like reposting or resharing other people's work and posting yours. Um, so yeah, sorry, just to give context for Esme as well.
Got it. Yeah. I mean that is the thing with kind of retweeting, is that it does kind of bury some of your posts that you want people to see as well. So I totally agree with Nicole. Doing a combination of both, so that the posts that you do really, really want people to see get seen, for sure.
I think goes back to like the pinned tweet, of course. Like if your pinned tweet is like you, whether it's like a link tree or your intro and your work, then obviously like people always have that as like a reference. But if
Yeah.
you don't really have a pinned tweet, or like your pinned tweet is a bit like not really clear, then kind of that, I guess, confuses people a little bit more. I actually had this example. I went on to, I don't remember who, and I'm not gonna like, I don't, but I remember like thinking about this. I was going through the Twitter and all I could see was other people's work. And I just couldn't understand like what the artist's work was or where it was, because there was no pinned tweet. Like, um, it was really cryptic, even in the description. And to me, that kind of, yeah, it doesn't really like pull me in. It just pulls me out, really. So like, it's, yeah, just being mindful of that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least if you retweet a lot, maybe it's a good idea to do quote tweets rather than just retweet.
That's true.
Awesome. Any last thoughts? We have 1 minute for maybe one quick question. Or if not, yeah, this was great. Really, really useful. I think like if I see, I was just looking through like other for Twitter to see if I have like good examples of pinned tweets, but I will. For example, like one good one I'll post it now is like Sarah Zucker. I know like she's a big artist, but I think like her pin tweet is really really good. She explains why she uses VHS in her art, and it's yeah, I think it's great because it already kind of gives a good context of her work and why she does that.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Yeah, almost auto curating, right? Her own work, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Esme. Like this was amazing.
You're so welcome.
Guys.
I hope that it's I hope that it's helpful for you guys, and that it'll inspire different things. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming and for sharing this time with us.
Oh, great. I love what you guys are doing, and Nicole, you're amazing. So yeah, keep doing it. It's awesome.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.